Welcome to the debate. Imagine you are 10 hours into negotiating a major deal,
Oh, brutal.
right? Like maybe it is a corporate contract or, I don't know, you're just buying a house. And the numbers make perfect sense. It is a total win-win. But suddenly the other side makes this tiny, almost irrelevant demand.
And you just walk away.
He walk away because, well, it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about your ego. So today we are digging into that exact scenario by examining the profound impact of pride in professional negotiations, and we are drawing strictly from the source text, negotiation, set aside your pride.
Yeah, it is a short text, but it really forces us to confront what actually derails these high-stakes conversations, you know? Like, we are looking at whether this text presents negotiation as the total eradication of adversarial pride in favor of pure collaboration, or if it is framing it more as a continuous internal audit between your objectives and your ego.
Exactly. And my read is that the text demands the complete suppression of pride. Like you have to completely get rid of it to transform negotiation from a battle into a bridge.
Right. Whereas my perspective is that the text views pride as an ever-present psychological reality, something you can't simply delete, but that you have to continuously interrogate and separate from the actual goal.
Well, when I first read this, I was genuinely tripped up by the phrase, set aside your pride. Because, is the author seriously suggesting we can just hit a mute button on our ego?
It sounds like it sometimes.
It really does. Because to me it sounds like they are demanding we completely suppress it. The text says very clearly, negotiating is about building a bridge, not winning a battle. Through that lens, pride is purely a destructive force, right? It explicitly says that when tension rises, pride steps in. That frames pride as an interloper.
Yeah, but
If your objective is pure collaboration, building that bridge, then any presence of an adversarial ego threatens the whole structure. So setting aside pride doesn't mean casually managing it. It means removing it entirely from your toolkit so the collaboration can actually happen.
see, I think the text's psychological nuance points in a different direction, because the pivot of the entire piece rests on a very specific diagnostic question. It asks, is it my goal or my ego speaking?
Right.
Think about it. If pride were something you could just switch off, that question would be completely unnecessary,
Oh, that is an interesting point.
right? You wouldn't need to ask who is speaking if you had already silenced the ego. So the real lesson here is about the rigorous management of an inevitable internal voice. The text explicitly notes that ego whispers don't give in.
Yeah, that whisper is the worst.
It is, and that frames negotiation as an act of internal self-regulation just as much as external bridge building.
Okay, but let's look at the mechanics of that whisper, though. Anyone listening who has ever negotiated a salary knows exactly what that don't give in whisper feels like. You logically know you should take the deal, but your stomach is in knots because you don't want to feel like you lost.
Oh, absolutely. The physiological response is very real.
Exactly. And the text opens with a warning about why professionals regret letting pride control their negotiations. We know biologically that our brains process a compromised negotiation point the exact same way they process a physical threat.
By triggering the amygdala.
Yes, by triggering the amygdala. So that whisper is literally an evolutionary survival mechanism misfiring in a boardroom. I would compare it to a virus in a computer system. It serves absolutely no constructive purpose in the text's framework.
A virus.
Yeah, a virus. It doesn't help you find a better deal. It just corrupts the bridge-building process with an adversarial instinct. The regret comes from letting that malicious code run in the background at all.
I come at it from a different way. You are describing pride as if it is a foreign anomaly, or like you said, a computer virus that shouldn't be there.
Because it shouldn't be.
But the text doesn't describe it that way. It says, when tension rises, pride steps in. That is a perfectly natural human response. Ego in a negotiation is less like a computer virus and more like an autoimmune response.
Oh, an autoimmune response. Okay, elaborate on that.
Well, the body's immune system is designed to protect you, right? But when it misidentifies the bridge-building process as a threat, it starts attacking your own healthy cells. your own goals.
Right, it attacks the deal itself.
Exactly. The regret highlighted in the text doesn't stem from experiencing that immune response. It comes from a failure of proportionality. The exact phrase is, letting ego dominate means risking everything.
Dominate being the key word there.
Yes, the operative word is dominate. If the mere existence of pride were the problem, the author would warn against letting ego exist. Warning against domination implies the failure is in letting ego take the steering wheel, not in having it in the car.
So you are saying the text expects us to let this autoimmune response happen, but just somehow keep it in check?
Essentially, yes.
See, I struggle with that because the title itself is an imperative. Set aside your pride. Not demote your pride or, manage your pride.
Sure, but
Setting something aside means taking it off the table completely.
look at the final directive of the text. It says, keep your eyes on the goal, not on your pride. This proves the central challenge of a negotiation is maintaining cognitive focus amid competing internal signals.
Meaning what exactly?
It means it is a continuous act of untangling the goal from the ego. Because in high-stakes environments, they start to sound identical. Your ego tells you it is protecting your goal.
Let me stop you there just to make sure we are clarifying what that looks like in practice. When you talk about the cognitive burden of untangling those signals, you mean you are so busy trying to protect your pride that your brain literally doesn't have the bandwidth left to do the math on the actual deal? Precisely.
I mean, there is a psychological concept called reactive devaluation.
Oh, right.
It is the mechanism where we instantly devalue a perfectly good offer simply because our opponent suggested it. Your brain is expending all its energy protecting your status rather than evaluating the terms. The battle isn't really against the other person at the table, it is an internal audit.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on that final sentence. You are separating the goal from the bridge.
Well, they are distinct concepts.
But the text explicitly defines the goal as building the bridge. It says, negotiating is about building a bridge. Keeping your eyes on the goal means adopting a purely collaborative posture.
Okay.
You cannot simultaneously be focused on a collaborative bridge while entertaining the adversarial don't give in mindset. To focus on the goal means you have to completely abandon the ego. They are mutually exclusive states in this framework.
I'm not convinced they are mutually exclusive, though. The text acknowledges that tension will rise. Tension is just the friction between opposing needs in the negotiation.
Right, friction is inevitable.
Exactly. You can be focused on the goal, the collaborative outcome, while still recognizing that your internal warning system, your pride, is flaring up. The mastery the text points to isn't pretending the tension doesn't exist.
Then what is the mastery?
It is making sure that when you evaluate your next move, the choice is driven by the blueprint of the bridge, not the battle cry of the ego.
Well, we are definitely looking at two distinct architectures for the negotiator's mind here. On one side is the interpretation that this text demands a fundamental, structural shift away from adversarial battles toward pure collaboration,
Right.
a state you can only achieve by completely discarding pride. And on the other side is your view that the text highlights a rigorous, continuous internal audit to prevent our inevitable human ego from hijacking our professional goals.
And despite that divergence, there is a clear point of convergence. The text makes it undeniably clear that when ego is allowed to dominate the interaction, professionals risk everything and invite profound regret.
Yeah, the stakes are incredibly high.
Extremely high.
The lingering disagreement just rests on the prescription. Is the text's solution the absolute silencing of that pride, or is it the vigilant, moment-to-moment management of it?
Right.
What is fascinating is how analyzing this short text strips away the complex tactics of negotiation, the offers, the leverage, the term sheets, and it reduces it all to a single point of internal clarity.
It shows that we spend years learning how to analyze a contract, but very little time learning how to analyze our own internal whispers.
Wow, yeah. It reveals a deep complexity in high-stakes professional interactions. The hardest part of a negotiation might not actually be dealing with the person sitting across the table from you. It might be dealing with the voice inside your own head.
Absolutely.
There is clearly much more to explore in the psychology of professional dynamics, and we leave it to you, the listener, to decide which interpretation holds the most weight next time you sit down at the table.